Welcome back to the Barebow Project. This is episode 126 with the 2025 Lancaster Archery Classic men's barebow champion, Oliver Ochkenholt. I recorded this with Oliver about a week ago, but wanted to let Medina's sort of episode out there and soak up the webs. Um, but that this is a great episode. You're going to enjoy it. And Oliver drops a ton of knowledge on how he changed his shooting form literally just in November prior to the classic. Few other announcements. If you haven't seen the posts, we are doing a barebow giveaway. And as a matter of fact, it's sitting right here. The Barebow Bulletin has been announced. The Barebow Bulletin is basically a news source. Check that bad boy, nice and shiny. Um, It's a newsletter, free subscription-based newsletter. You go to the barebow.project.com and subscribe. Click any subscribe button. Gives you the option to subscribe to the bulletin. I'm working with Lancaster Archery, their brand Galaxy, R-Core grips, putting Yoast on it. The Push Archery, shout out to Matt, and a ton of providers. We're going to have articles on there from news updates from judges, from coaches, from some tuning experts, as we'd like to call them, news updates from organizations, world record holders, national record holders. Lars Pedersen has contributed a column and is going to continue to do so for our friends across the pond in Europe in those areas. And, it's going to be an editorial that binds all of Barebow worldwide together. If you have news or updates or things that you would love to see highlighted in the newsletter, please email me at thebarrelproject@gmail.com. We can fit it in, we will. We are accepting some advertisers on there, which you're going to see in the newsletter, and you'll receive it either by subscription um, when we send it out. It's going to be on the website and it's going to be announced and discussed in every podcast. So it's going to be made very readily available for everyone. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Barebow Project.
And our number one seed from Copenhagen, Denmark, Oliver Ochkenholt.
All right, coming out like a rock star.
Absolutely. Oliver is a beast, man.
And we'll just get started. We're gonna hop right into it, Oliver. All right.
Sure.
So
I'm ready. Let's do it.
let's do it. So welcome back to the Barebow Project. I'm here.
Thanks.
I did an interview with Medina yesterday, she's such a sweet kid. I look forward to seeing her progress. But I'm here with the newly crowned 2025 Lancaster Archery Classic champion, Mr. Oliver. Let's see if I get it right. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Ochkenholt.
Ochkenholt. Yes, that's
Ochkenholt.
perfect. Thank
Pretty
you.
close.
Yeah,
Close. Not
that's
perfect.
great.
Close though. Um, you were a first timer coming to the classic this year, man, and you
Yeah.
and take the world by storm and go right to the final stage. First of all, tell everybody who you are. I know I kind of already introduced you, but tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and give us some details about yourself.
Well, I'm Oliver Ochkenholt, as you pronounced so well just before. I'm 32 years old, and I'm from a tiny town a little south of Copenhagen in Denmark called Køge. And I have been shooting my barebow for 3 years, seriously. Before that, I shot a lot of like traditional hunting style bows and some compound also.
I see the compound in
Um,
the background there. It looks like a Matthews.
yeah,
Is that a Matthews?
yeah. Huh?
Matthews? Is that a Matthews?
No, that's a PSE.
Oh, it's
That's
a
a
PhD.
40s.
Okay.
Yeah, so the thing is, in Denmark, we are basically not allowed to hunt with traditional gear for bigger game. So we're only allowed to hunt roe deer, but we have fallow and red stag too. So, and we have that on my hunting property. So if one of those guys come through and I'm sitting there with traditional bow, I'm not allowed to shoot it. So I'm hunting with my compound. So
That's wild. I didn't know that, man. Traditional
yeah, that
is huge up
that's the
there.
rules. Yeah, it's not. I mean, there's a community for it in Denmark, and that was basically where I started personally. But it's difficult. It's getting better in Denmark, and I believe that within the next couple of years, that the decision makers they will allow us to hunt bigger game with traditional equipment. It's basically impossible now. So
Crazy. I wonder what the cost would be for me to come over there and hunt big game with you guys. I would love to make that trip. I would. We talked about
yeah,
it a little bit.
actually, actually, me and Klaus we have a hunting property together. So you're always welcome. You can just
Oh,
come
that would
over.
be amazing. 100%. I'd take you up on that opportunity. If I got to bring,
Yeah.
I just got my Hoyt RX9 Ultra 30 to 30, 33-inch axle carbon bow. Dude, it is the sweetest carbon bow I have ever had in my life. And that's not
Yeah.
just like a sponsor thing. Like there's no comparison to comparing a carbon riser bow with a rubber grip in the cold versus not. And
Uh,
it just shoots so well. But anyway, until Gilo decides to make compounds, you're using your PSE, but that's okay. We won't judge you on that. Enough of the compound talk because nobody that listens to this podcast wants to hear about that. So
no, no.
what Oliver, what do you do for a living? How do you support your archery hobby?
Well, I've been working as a police officer for 9 years, and I just recently, like 1st of January, I just changed to another job. So now I'm working with like these young people who are just scrolling around, who don't know what to do, and I'm trying to help them find something to do in life, a job or a hobby, or
Yeah.
so it's that's like what's called community work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's ironically similar to what I do full time. I work for a cyber charter school as my title is a family mentor. So I
Yeah.
work with families and students, kids who have trouble with the online learning format. I worked with troubled youth for a very, very long time and in the mental health sector as well. But I landed on this job after COVID, after teaching in brick and mortar, and then but it's by far the best job. It's the working with
Yeah.
kids is fun. Period. It's one of the best things I've ever done, and I don't blame you for getting out of police work.
Nah. Well, I loved it for many years. I've been, I mean, it was a big part of my identity, and I've always like loved the colleagues and everything in it. But I mean, it was just hard. I mean, with my archery getting more and more serious, it was very difficult for me to like weekend shifts and night shifts and all these things. I could not do that anymore. And then I was on an office, just doing like office work.
Yeah,
And to me, that was not like the reason why I became an officer, sitting in there. So therefore, I made a tough call and tried something else. And also, I mean, with this new job, like they know that I'm using the most of my time with archery, and they respect that, and they gave me the room for that. So
that's awesome.
yeah, that was a big part of my decision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a change. Do you know? I don't know if you know the name. You may Robbie Weisinger. You probably have seen his name throughout some.
Yeah, I know that guy. He's cool.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Robbie's a good guy. Robbie made a career change, and Grayson and I have talked to him about it for a couple of years. And it's kind of he's a teacher by trade. That's what he was doing. But it's like as a teacher working in a brick and mortar school, getting off from work and trying to travel. It's so difficult. He enrolled in the fire. Well, he applied to the fire department, got in, started paramedic school, and is going to get, I think, fire academy is coming up sometime later in the year or whatever. And I said to him, I was like, first of all, I know you were police. Police is great. Fire service is fun in some regards. But it pays well too. And you can dictate your schedule. You got more time, instead of working 5 days a week, you're working, 2 or 3 days a week on
Hmm.
24-hour shifts. And
Yeah.
but it's definitely more, I think what like a job like what I have, what you have, it's that work-life balance is so much better.
Yeah, and also just
Fire service does that as well.
with two little kids and and a full-time job and also almost a full-time job with archery, just the thinking about the hours of training and tournaments and traveling and all this. I mean,
Yeah.
you just need to make some tough decisions. You need to like follow your stomach and do what you feel. I mean,
That's
do what feels right.
it's funny you say that you say even though you're not paid per se, although you got paid pretty well for coming to America
Yeah,
this past couple of weeks.
yeah.
Um, it is a full-time job, isn't it? To truly be competitive, it's a
I'm,
full-time
I mean, to me, it does not feel like a job because I mean,
job.
I'm addicted to shooting. I cannot shoot. I mean, if we're on a vacation on a holiday with the family or something, I get the chills, I get the itchy and all that. I know. Yeah, I love to shoot. But yeah, I shoot every day. I prioritize it, and I mean, I have a lot of my weekends I use shooting.
Hold on one second. Had
Something happened.
Nah, you're good. I had to mute somebody. Steve joined and went off.
Ah,
I had to mute him. No worries. Um, yeah, I'm right there
it
with you.
feels like a full-time job
Yeah,
sometimes. It
yeah,
does.
for sure. I get it. And obviously the results show, and I think that's one of the most under appreciated and um I guess one of the most underappreciated requirements to be that level of shooter is the amount of time and effort that it puts into that's required. I always, yeah, 100%. Yeah, the people who constantly stay at that upper level, they're probably there's some drawbacks to it, and that drawback can be time with your family, time at work. It can be the podcast, for example. Like
Yeah,
that's always been one of my biggest struggles continuing to be a shooter is juggling these interviews and trying to, hey, when are you available? Well, let's have these and it takes time away. I try to do
you
it when my family's
you
not.
could be shooting. You could be shooting right now.
Oh, I'd rather be shooting right now. Well, don't take that. That really came out bad. I am very happy to be here with you. However, yeah, I would rather be shooting and just focusing on just shooting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I think that's one thing that I've always struggled to juggle for myself. But whatever. It's what I choose to do. So that's
Yeah,
my choice. So with that being said, what we kind of bumped right through some of the topics I want to talk about. Let's talk
yeah,
about your equipment. I see some amazing G-Low risers behind you. So
yeah.
just the rundown of what the equipment you used this week at the Classic and any changes you may or may not have made.
So, I was shooting the World Championship 3D, and that was with my GT. And when we got home from that one, I switched to the new GF riser. It came within the 27 edition, which is actually almost 28 inches long. And Vittorio and Gilo hooked me up with that bow. I paired it up with my GTL 88 carbon foam limbs, also Gilo. And I mean, it just banged right out the gate. I mean, it's probably, I know I'm on the roll, but it's the best bow I ever shot. I mean, the minute I got that in hand, I just fell in love with the balance and the forgiveness and everything. Combined it with the biter plunger, of course, and an arc system rest is my go-to at the moment. And
They
there's
called?
just
Say
so
that again.
arc system ASCL.
Hmm.
I think it's called CL10 or CX10 or something. Yeah.
Uh,
It's a
sure.
It's a French company. It's very similar to the AAE Free Flight, if you know that
Okay.
one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they
Um.
grown in popularity on our side of the pond. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a bulletproof
Yeah.
rest. It
It
just
just
talk about it.
works.
Yeah.
I normally mod the wire a little bit. I don't like the way the wire comes from the factory, but so I mod the wire, and then and there's just on the new GF riser, there's just so many opportunities of placing weights. This new tunnel weight system. I don't know if
Yep.
you've seen it yet. Allows you to like move a heavy stainless steel tunnel through the riser, and that just you can just work with that balance so easy. So yeah, that's the thing I was shooting over there. And then of course, Klaus Pinbo, he's an amazing string maker. He makes all my strings. So he just hooked me up with strings, and then yeah, it just came out as should be. Um, I was shooting with Victory for the entire last year, and also through the World Championship. I shot Victory. I decided to go another path this year to like be more independent. Um, I mean, I have had offers from other companies, but I mean, the value of the freedom of choosing myself. I think that's worth more than a couple of dozens of arrows. So like when I'm indoors, I like to shoot Eastern. When
Yep.
I'm outdoors, I want to shoot maybe Victory, maybe DK Bull Factory, maybe something third. I mean,
Yeah.
that value, I like that. I mean, and even if I was on a contract with the company, the contingencies they give to Barebow archers are, I mean, it's okay, but I'm holding on to that thing with the
Sure.
freedom. I mean, the freedom is worth more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
I think you're onto something there. I sort of switched up the way I do sponsorships for the podcast for the exact same reason.
yeah,
It's not a financial thing, it's more of a support and growth thing. And if I don't feel responsible to shoot a specific arrow, just because, somebody wanted their name on the podcast. And it's I think you're on to something there. Unfortunately, I also think that, like, especially young archers, I think there's maybe you can comment on this. I think young archers see this like golden egg of getting sponsored,
yeah,
and it adds just additional pressure, and it adds some um I guess you just kind of you're cornered to only shoot what they have, despite maybe it's not the best arrow for the game.
yeah,
And I kind of like, I almost would stress to people, don't look for sponsorships. If somebody wants to give you a bow non-contractual, take it.
yeah, sure.
Don't, but make it very clear, like, that might not be your best option just because it's free.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I know John has a similar approach, and always has, because it's just like, hey, I'll do. And then let's face it, you're a very good shooter. Klaus is a very good shooter. I've known Klaus for quite some time, since I started the Barebow project. Even coached him for a little while, back and forth. We still go back and forth on some stuff. And you know, that freedom really does mean a lot. And the one thing with, like, with Hoyt, for example, and Gilo now as well. Gilo's definitely putting more money behind their shooters for podiums and stuff like that. Like, Hoyt is probably one of the biggest to say, hey, we're going to support our shooters. We're putting money where our mouth is. They perform, they're getting paid. And that's a huge thing for me, because that supports Barebow in totality.
Yeah.
It's not just a Hoyt thing. They're like, hey, we're throwing money at Barebow. We're not going to treat Barebow like, and I always joke around about Barebow being the redheaded stepchild of archery. They're putting Barebow on an equal platform in some capacity, within reason. Obviously, they're not selling as much for Barebow as they are for Compound, for example. You know what I mean? But no, that's good, man. I think
Yeah.
what tab are you shooting, by the way?
I was shooting a Black Mamba.
Black
Yeah.
Mamba. Okay. All right.
Yeah, from day one, and I've tried almost every other brand, and there are so many great tabs out there. But
There definitely is. Yeah.
I think the Black Mamba tab has just like it's just like it's a part of my hand. I mean, it's just I can't get used to anything else after I use that one.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with it, and I have a couple, and yeah, as I said, I've tried others, but I'm just hanging on to that one.
Yeah, good. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's the way it
Yeah,
you gotta use what works best for you, man. And if
yeah,
have that works, then it's the one. You gotta run
yeah.
it. What just you said earlier, and I'm gonna go back just a little bit. You know, you've gained this barebow experience the last 3 years. What's the earliest that you started shooting? Like how old were you?
Barebow or archery in life?
Archery
Okay,
beginnings, all the way
so
beginning.
I've been asked this a lot. And I guess we have the time for the longer explanation.
Sure, whatever.
As a child, I have always been fascinated with archery. When I was kid and we played in the yard, I was always like Legolas or Robin Hood or I was always the archer. I've always been fascinating with archery. And then my uncle he died like when I was I mean, like 24, 5 something. And he was a very skilled hunter and also bow hunter. And then I found this his compound bow in his basement when we was cleaning up the house. And that actually got me started. Then I had been through the young years and I've been partying and all that. So I tried and I needed something new in my life and I picked up that bow and I just felt some kind of connection with it. And actually, like I knew no one who was shooting. No one. I was all alone with this. I picked it up, took it out of the bag. There were some arrows in there as well, and then I put on an arrow. I didn't even knew that I had to use a release. It was a compound bow, right? So I just took it with my hands, and
That's
I
the
was
way
like,
we used to do it though, so it's not that far.
yeah. But I was like, it can't be true that it hurt so much in my fingers, and I shot like 3 or 4 arrows, and I was like, damn, what is this? And then I found, and then I went to YouTube, and then I started watching all the videos with all the hunters, all the Cameron Haynes guy kind of guys, and I just fell into that rabbit hole, and from that day on, I haven't looked back. So I shot with the compound for maybe 2 or 3, 4 years or something. I got my hunting license with it, and with that, I just kind of excelled and started watching YouTube videos with traditional hunters and thought that was just sick. Those guys, um, like Clay Haynes, I was a giant fan of Clay Haynes, yeah. And then actually I fell onto Matt Cernsack, the video called The Push, and that was actually it. That was the thing. That specific video
Yep.
was what was the thing. And then I contacted some guys here in Denmark that I knew was like in this very small traditional community, and they just took me in like a brother, and I started shooting traditional bows, some longbows, and also like takedown Satori combis, and then everything grew on me, and I got better and better. And one day I was down at the my local store, and that's maybe like 3.5, 4 years ago. My local archery store, and it's run by this guy called Martin Damsbro. He's like a goat of compound archery, Danish national team shooter, like really, really good guy. And we were talking, and I told him, yeah, I was at that time I was shooting with this 17-inch my bow riser with medium limbs. I think the total length of the bow was like 60 inches or something, a really like traditional hunting rig.
Yeah.
Uh, and um, and I told him that I was shooting target faces also my garden out here,
Mhm.
and and I put on some pretty good scores, and he was like, "What kind of scores are you shooting with that thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, yesterday I did at 540," and he was like, "540 with that thing? We need to build you a Barebow like right now." And then we did that. He helped me out. We built my first Barebow was this Kinetic Sovereign with Sebastian Flute Evo carbon limbs. I mean, it's not a very expensive rig, but it worked out fine for me. And 2 weeks after that, I signed up for my first archery tournament, like indoor hardcore archery tournament. And actually, there was like we were 16 barebows, and we were seated like from 1 to 16.
Yeah.
And because no one knew me at that time, I was just everybody was like, "Who the hell is he?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I was seated as number 16, pre-seated because no one knew me.
Sure.
Klaus, of course, was seated as number one, I ended up winning the entire thing. Um, so and from that day on, I've just been pounding every single tournament that I could find locally, and also I'm going to Sweden sometimes, and now Lancaster, and yeah. So that's basically the story. I mean, archery has always been a part of me and my like field of interest, but it just kind of fell down from up above, I guess.
There's something about yeah, same. I mean, I've had a bow in my hand since I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
I actually have the picture to prove it, but I had hair then too. But there's something about Barebow that is just so it's like the happy place between raw trad archery and
Yeah.
competitive archery. Because competitive archery, like if you love archery, you should. Maybe that's not a fair statement. I love all of archery. Like John Winker, for example, from First Flight. John Winker loves all archery. That man
Yeah.
will shoot anything and he'll shoot it really well.
Yeah.
And John Demmer's the same way. Can shoot anything. Shoots great compound. He shoots great Olympic recurve, but Barebow's where he landed. And the thing about Barebow is it keeps you in that competitive. You're still really competitive, and you could still shoot really well, but it's still really freaking hard. And
Yeah.
it's not, it gives you like just gives you all the necessary. It hits all the right places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, to go back, you mentioned the push archery film, and I wanted to pull it up because that was the video that I watched. The first time Barebow was brought up to me was John Wirt when he was working for Lancaster Archery. And then I went to Google or went to YouTube. And the first film that I watched where I was like, okay, yeah, I need to try this. It's the Push Archery, a traditional archery film, May 2016. That video was posted. It has over 2
Yeah.
million views and it's 2 hours and 17 minutes long. That's
Yeah.
Zach. This is a shout out to you. That
Yeah.
film sucked me into, okay, I got to try this. And which eventually led to shooting barebow, hunting traditional, killing my first deer, what happened to be a buck with my black widow. Like it was this progression, and now like I've played with some compound and stuff. It's still fun. I hunted with compound during my like recovery for my elbow, but it's just not the same. So like I think a lot of people have found that.
I mean, that video, like every time someone comes to me and be like, they're maybe a compound hunter or something, and they want to try the traditional universe, I'm always saying, we can talk, go watch the video, we will talk afterwards. And I mean, it's to very many to many of the Danish traditional archers, it's like a Bible, it's everyone has seen that video, and that's a thing you can talk about. And um I mean, he really earns a lot of credit on that one. That it's a very special video, and also it's very funny because I was talking to him at the Lancaster. That was like a big goal for me when I went to Lancaster. Was like, I need to talk to Matt because he's
Yeah.
like he's the root to me, basically. He's the reason why I
Yeah.
did this, I started this, and I had to tell him. And then I went to my to my messenger on Facebook because I added him on Facebook. And then I saw this message that I wrote him like 4 years ago, like, hey Matt, thank you so much for that cool video. It has inspired me so much, and blah blah blah. And now we're here. So
Full
that's pretty
circle moment
cool.
for you, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Matt is like the push isn't all Barebow. That's actually kind of a weird story of how the Barebow project started. But Matt hits everything as much as he can. the traditional hunting side is definitely, you can tell that that's his
Yeah, sure.
world. But Matt loves, he's just like us. He loves all of archery. He does not compound guy, but he's a traditional archery guy and he loves
Mm,
Barebow. He just puts all of his time into the trad hunting side. Well, not all of it. I shouldn't say that's not a fair statement, but a lot of his time into it. And I think all of us need to give Matt that credit and his and all those involved in the push from the production standpoint over the years. Matt is the reason a lot of us and Barebow started its growth down in the trenches early on. Him hooking up with John, being multi-time guest, the push pack, all of their educational opportunities, like it's all
mm,
good stuff, which I followed a similar path, different venue of sorts with like the Barebow Shooter School and stuff. I just focus on Barebow because honestly,
yeah,
so much in Barebow, you realize like there's 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 a lot of finite details to Barebow that you have to learn to get good. And
yeah.
and it's not, but yeah, so again, we're hounding on the Matt Zernzak topic, but Matt deserves every ounce of accolade he gets because yourself, myself, many others, we were influenced by or motivated to be involved in Barebow because of the push archery. And
Yeah,
I will never ever for my life not give that accolade to Matt and all the work that he's done. So,
the
Matt, I'm done talking about you, just so you know. So let's talk about how you prepared for the classic. So, you said you're shooting as much as possible. What does that look like? What are you doing? What do you do to work on things that you're struggling with? Just give us a breakdown of what that is.
Okay, so like I said earlier, like full-time job, two kids, I shoot whenever I can. I mean, normally I tuck down my beds to my kids to bed, and then I go to the place where I shoot. I have this cool little place close to where I live. It's basically just a warehouse, and at nighttime there's no one there, and the manager was like, "You can shoot in here." So I just put up a mat in there, and I just put in some arrows. I try to shoot at least 120 a day. If I can fit it in, and then I also drive to Copenhagen to shoot with Klaus, of course. Me and Klaus are like, we have been pushing each other so hard. Like, I last year I changed club. I was shooting locally here, but then I was like, I need to do something to get even better. And what I thought I could do was to get that competition like pushed down my throat everything a single day. And I do that with Klaus. Like, him and I are just pounding it. And so specifically for Lancaster, what I did, I struggled during Kings of Archery in this November, and that was a major setback for me. And I was like, I need to do something different if I want to be able to compete with the big guys over there, because that kind of pressure shooting in a big venue like Lancaster or the Kings of Archery, it's just a different game, and if you haven't tried it, you can't imagine. It's just something else. So I actually dived into some of Joel Turner stuff. I haven't really I mean I'm a self-taught shooter. I've never had a coach. I've never had anyone telling me how to shoot. I started myself. I mean, once in a while someone is saying try and do this, try and do that. But I mean, I've always been shooting myself, and like 80% of all my arrows have been shot in my yard or in my driveway or something like that.
Sure.
Um, but I wanted to try some of Joel Turner stuff. And can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine. You're good.
Okay, okay. It's just my earpods that did something funny. And he was talking about all this, the sears and the clickers and all these things, and I've never used that. But I needed something to turn to when things got tense. So I incorporated in my shooting from like late November and up to Lancaster this soft sear in my shooting, and I did not want it to change anything. I did not want to change the way I was shooting or aiming or anything. I did not want it to add a sear because that was, I mean, that's something new, and that would take me years to learn, basically. So what I did was that I decided that I will let go. I will let my arrow leave my bow the second my indominant eye closes. So what I do, does it make sense? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you have seen the Lancaster, I know you have, but that there is some really good clips of it actually in on the YouTube from the final when I'm shooting Chris. Um, it's very clear that when I'm at full draw, I have both eyes open on the fo and try to focus on the target, and then I start closing my dominant eye. And when I do that, the target gets clearer and clearer. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the second my eyes closes, I pop it.
Yeah.
And that has just been working out so good for me. I mean, that has been a game changer since November.
Maybe too if you have some like vision problems, because that like if like for example for myself it's I can't see the target and the arrow together with both eyes open.
Uh, I can do that. I mean,
Oh,
I've been shooting with both eyes open as well, pretty well. But I wanted to take a thing that I'm already doing
yeah.
and use that as a trigger. I did not want to change anything,
Yeah,
and I
maybe
was
I could see that. I could
yeah, and I was already
huh.
closing my eye, so I
Mhm.
was just like, okay, if I'm closing my eye, then why don't just let the arrow go as soon as the eye, like the lid closes.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can see it if you watch the video now. I told you that's the big secret. If you watch the video and with this knowledge,
Yeah,
it's
I'll see.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'll notice it. Yeah, and that's interesting. That's very interesting. I like the way you called it a soft sear because it's you're not putting pressure anywhere, you're not doing, and that's
Uh,
why one of the bigger counterproductive ideas behind the sear is putting like pressure on the grip and changing hand pressure and moving stuff around and stuff like that. So like I could definitely see where you might be giving some big secrets away here and other people.
yeah.
But
Well,
but listen, if people get some help out of it,
yeah.
so be
I
it.
mean, if I
Oh,
can if I can help out anyone, I will do my
interesting.
best.
So you
Um,
only started that in November,
yeah, I did. I
but you were
decided
shooting
that
pretty good prior to that.
yeah, I did. I mean, I was just I was world champion, 3D world champion in October,
Gotcha.
and I won Nîmes last year and came in second at Kings of Archery. So I mean, I have a pretty good resume.
Yeah.
But I was just like I needed to change something in order to get to have a feeling. I mean, coming out from Kings of Archery, that's a pretty big competition. I think I qualified as number 9 or 10 or something,
Mm.
and it's that's good. I mean, it's all the big guys, all the big Europeans go there, but
Sure.
I was not satisfied with my own shooting. It has nothing to do with my ranking or anyone else. I was not satisfied with the way I was handling the pressure down there, and I needed to do something about that. And I did. And also I convinced myself not to focus on my practice scores. I've always been this like, how can I get better practice scores? How can I get even better? I mean, and pushing myself. The problem is just that if the practice scores are getting higher, but the competition scores are just staggering, well, then the practice scores, that doesn't matter. I would much rather have a way lower practice score if I was shooting the same in competition.
Yeah.
Because that is what matters. It doesn't matter what kind of scores you can post on
Oh,
Facebook. I mean,
you are hitting on like one of I don't want to call it a pet peeve, but there's a lot of people you watch social media
yeah.
will post these outlandish, crazy scores, and then they assume that when they go to a competition that or they it's like this like that's the way they shoot all the time type of attitude per
Hmm.
se. And it's this mental approach. You're actually like sabotaging yourself in some ways.
Yeah,
If those scores are authentic and you to go to a competition and the bottom falls out of the shot, out of the shot process, that's the real person you are is who you're, well, how you're performing on the competition line,
it is.
period. So you can shoot all the 275s you want in practice, but if you get there and you're shooting a 240, you're really a 240 shooter.
It is.
And you have to beat. I think where the disconnect is people think that they're a 275 out of 300, a 550 shooter. Are you capable of it? Yeah, maybe you are, but that's not who you are when it matters. So that's not really the shooter you are.
Yeah,
You need to bring up the bottom number, not
exactly.
call yourself the top number. And
But the thing is, like, I have always been a pretty self-confident shooter, and I'm one of those guys. I mean, I was posting scores, and I still am, and the reason for that is to inspire. But I mean, I made this post on the Facebook group called the Barebow group,
yeah, yeah.
where I wrote like I called it the drop, and I was like, let's talk about it. This, the drop, the difference between, huh?
I'll have to look for it. I don't know if I saw it.
I mean, you commented on it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I guess I did.
so the thing is like the drop, like the difference between your competition score
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I do remember
and
now.
your practice score.
Yeah.
And I dived into it like a rabbit hole, and I tried to figure out why is it that I'm dropping. Like, I think I took all my scores from the last like 2 years from competition and from practice. I have them in my app for practice, and then I put them on a piece of paper, and I calculated that I dropped almost 4% of my points in average. Like 4% is a lot from like a perspective of 600 points. The 4% is a lot. And I dived into that, and I tried to find answers like why is it? I mean, I'm capable of shooting this. Then why am I shooting this like every time? And I've been like a solid 540, between 540 and 550. I've been shooting that for like a year in competition, but in practice, I'm never below 560. Never. So why is it that I'm not shooting 560 score?
One other thing that I have to mention is we have moved our exclusive content. So all of the Barebow Shooter School, the forum evals, the coaching, the listener, the live listener, exclusive content, and all of the coaching content is moved through subscriptions to our fourth wall account, which is where all the apparel is being made. We have our custom apparel in there where you can order a shirt, get your name designed for the back of any of the apparel that's available. And then our OG Barebow Project shirt is in there. I know Medina's mom just ordered a bunch of sweatshirts. They were champion sweatshirts, really good quality. She absolutely loved them. So go check that out at our apparel store right through our website. But it's also linked in Linktree and Instagram and the profile and stuff like that. So when you go to look at our apparel store, you can see there's three subscriptions. There's a Barebow listener, there's a state champ, and there's national champ. And we do exclusive giveaways for our subscribers through our private Facebook page, where every month you have an opportunity to win something magnificent, whether it's Yoast products, SX Wings product, Jaeger archery grips, gas bowstrings. We're giving away 4 Recurve Plus bowstrings this year. So there's a lot of opportunity there that not just the exclusive content, but opportunities to win some amazing prizes and stuff like that. So make sure you check that out. It's a nominal amount of money. It helps support the Barebow Trot project and all of the things that we do to try to promote Barebow across the world. So if you enjoy these podcasts and you enjoy the information, and maybe some of the joking around and all of that jazz, please consider not only sharing every show, but take a look at that, maybe join up, and then you get to talk to our guests and get exclusive access right to them when we're recording. So, with that being said, go check that out and enjoy the show.
Course, constantly. in
Yeah.
competition. So I was working a lot with those numbers and trying to figure out like why could it be? And then I tried to change up things and the way I look at my numbers in competition and practice. And yeah, that was just that was a big thing for me, like in November and December. Like that was I tried to change everything in the way I was preparing myself for battle, and it worked. I mean, my competition scores in like late November and start December, they just started climbing. My first competition score in Denmark was like 544 in the first tournament of the season. And then I had a 549 in school up in Sweden.
Mhm.
Then I shot a 558, then a 559. So it was just building up before Lancaster. And then right before we went to Lancaster, I did a tournament and shot a 565 VA. And that was where I was like, okay, you're ready. It's you're where you want to be. Uh, so that was kind of my way of working with my issues pre-Lancaster.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Obviously it worked. Nobody can tell. Nobody can say that it doesn't. It worked for you in that
it did. It
short
did.
amount of time. Nobody can say otherwise. I said all the time. Like if you make something work and it works for you all the time, like don't fix it if it's not broke. It's the
Yeah,
it's the I think the drawback is when people they insist on making change after change after change after change after change, expecting a different result, but they never really fully truly commit to the change. And then
yeah,
you're gonna run into problems, or you'll just keep looking for the next best thing, and it's just not the case. Just need to work on the things you need to work on. But
yeah.
that's good. That's really good intel on that I don't think anybody knew. I don't know. I know I didn't know, but maybe some other people or you talked to some other people. And but
Well, me Klaus, of
word's gonna be on
course.
the street now, man.
Like me and Klaus has been working a lot together, and we agreed when we came home from Kings of Archery that we need to change things, both of us.
Mhm.
And he started with his like sear thing, and that like it worked out so well for him. And both of us changed our arrow setups, and both of us like turned to a smaller diameter arrow. The reason for that was that, in my opinion, I've been shooting with like 23 fat shafts, standard shafts. I've been shooting it all, right? I've been shooting aluminums, Easton's, like VTACs from Victory, everything. What I found with the skinny diameter arrow is that it's more forgiving. I mean, it's just, and what I need when I'm like just the thing I said before with practice and the competition, the difference is the pressure, and I just need the most forgiving setup that I can get when I'm in competition. I mean, that's everything. I just need as much forgiveness as I can because I need to expect that I'm at my worst when I'm in competition. I need to expect that I'm shooting my lowest scores, and for that, I need the most forgiving setup I can get.
Yeah.
Um, so I built up that system with the. It was actually I was like I told Klaus, so do you have any skinny arrows laying around at home? And he was like, yeah, I have this pack of old pro comps. They've been laying around for like 4 years, and I was like, yeah, cool. Hit me up with those. And then I built a dozen, and I was like, okay, right out the gate, it was just like 10, 10, 10. I was like, hell yeah, I'm keeping these ones. He ain't getting them. He ain't getting those back.
No, that's good. I
Yeah,
completely agree with you. I think you're right. The smaller shafts are definitely more forgiving. They don't react to bad shots as significantly as the bigger
no,
diameter.
not at all. I
If
mean,
you're super if you're super forgiving, like if you have a super forgiving shot, super forgiving release, real solid bow arm, you don't have those, like you can make them work, and when they work amazing because you get all those extra lines. But you also then give up if you're shooting a single spot, you give up glances and all that
yeah,
stuff because that
yeah.
happens.
I mean, I can. I mean, I have shot a lot of shots, and I can definitely feel if it's a good shot or a bad shot, right? With my older setup with the fat shaft, the 23s, if I had a bad shot, like a really bad shot, I would maybe land 6 or 5 or something like that. Yeah. If I have a bad shot with these skinny arrows, it's maybe a 9. I mean, maybe an 8,
Yeah.
7 at most. I mean, or a 6 as I did at Lancaster. But I mean, it's I mean the 6 I shot during the finals at Lancaster, that's like the first 6 I've shot ever with that setup. So it's really forgiving and it works out so well. Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. Well, since we're diving into and you're mentioning Lancaster, let's talk about Lancaster. I'm looking at my other screen here. I have all the first of all, shout out to the top, everyone who made the cut and especially those top scorers. Let's talk about Zach. What did you think of Zach Bissinger's amazing qualifying score? A 589.
So you need to know this. Zach and I were shooting on the same bail.
Uh-huh.
We were shooting like Klaus, me, Zach, and then this fourth guy, I don't remember his name. And I obviously I knew Zach from like community. Yeah, I've never met him before, but I knew that he was shooting, and I heard from others that he was in at top form pre
Oh,
Lancaster. But I wasn't expecting that. I was like, my goal for the day was like, okay, you need to keep up with Zach and Klaus. If you do that, you'll probably be somewhere around top 10. Yeah.
yeah,
And then Zach, he was just like shooting 10 after 10 and 11, 10, 9, 10. He was just staying inside yellow the entire time. And he was just so calm. I mean, he was like, yeah, that was a sight to see. He was that was amazing. I mean, I believe if you take away his 11s, he tied with the VA world record, right? Yeah, that was insane, and he was just so happy and so like no, he wasn't like arrogant or anything. He was just like trying to. I had some bad rounds, and he was just like, "Come on, Ollie, you could do this," and blah blah blah.
yeah.
We were just hanging out, having a good time. But I mean, that score is that's just insane. He was really hitting it that day. But I mean, I could feel it. I could feel it with him that he was having a good day. Mentally, he was on top. He felt like he was so confident. I mean, yeah, it was a big experience just to be there with him when he did that. That
For
was
sure.
extraordinary.
I feel like I think Zach learned some things at the classic as well. And he's an incredibly talented shooter. I had him on the podcast prior to the classic. 'Cause I knew that he was hammering and he's got a gift. There's no question. He's got a gift. And I think that I mean everybody who especially those top like 10, 15 scores, like I mean, I'll let's put it this way. The top 20 has definitely changed. It used to be a handful of 550s, 560s, 570 once in a while. That has definitely, and I guess it technically is still a handful, but I think where the increase is we're seeing more amount of shooters, high 540s, 550s, and 560s than we did 5 years ago. Like I think that's
Yeah.
one of the, I know 2020, I qualified 10th with a 544. 10th was Alex Melnick. He had a 5.
Mhm.
Let me look at that. Or 553. 553. So like
Yeah.
not it's definitely gone up. Now the low, even we talked to there's always a post here. What's the minimum score going to be? And everything. It's 520, 525. Every year the score has been somewhere between 490, high 490s and like 515. I think this year it was 516, I think, that's the highest it's ever been. Let me look. I have it right here. 516, yeah. So that only went up a little tiny bit, but like the upper echelon, there's more shooters showing up,
Yeah.
shooting those higher scores, which is great. That's great for the sport. But anyway, so moving on, Zach killed it. Simone Barbary was the second qualifier, 570. Marcus from Sweden 564, Alexson, I think is how he says his last.
Axelson, he's a great guy also.
564. Jeremiah
Yeah.
Jones, super nice kid, young guy. He shot a 563, which is stout. Klaus then was fifth with a 562. Giuseppe from Italy, 561. Matt Hudson, 557. Dell Hilberry, which I don't know Dell at all, and he's from Pennsylvania.
I know him now.
557. I know him now. We know
Yeah.
yeah, super awesome score. Another Pennsylvania guy. And then you came in ninth with a 554.
Yeah.
Were you happy with the 554 or were you like you want
No, not at all. I was struggling a lot that day. I mean, Klaus told me afterwards that he had never seen me like that before. Never. I actually I came out pretty good, good start, but then I just couldn't find that rhythm, you know. That was just impossible to me. Those breaks were so long, and I just fell into a dark hole of nothingness. I was just,
oh, don't
I
be so
mean,
dramatic. Come on now.
no, I mean, I was really struggling. And if you ask Zach too, he will know it as well. I was struggling because, I mean, when you're used to coming from somewhere where you're the best, and then you go over there overseas and you just get your ass kicked by Zach. I was on the bail with this dude. Remember this? I
Yeah.
was just watching him killing it. Yeah. And also, like, I just couldn't find that rhythm. I was really struggling. But then again, the good side of it was like I felt that I shot my worst ever that day. I mean, if I take away my 11s, I was like 544.
Yeah.
That's the worst score I've been shooting this season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the feeling I had. I mean, I had a feeling that it was terrible. But then again, then I found myself at 9, and I was like, okay, if you're at 9 on your worst day, I mean, it's okay
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
this
it really
field, like,
is.
yeah, and it was a terrible day for me. But I mean, it's also like Lancaster has just been a dream of mine for like since the day I picked up that bow and watched that video. I mean, I've just been thinking about it every day. I mean, I know that YouTube there's a lot of views on the Lancaster. I'll take the majority of those views. I've watched that video like
Claim them. You're gonna claim
so
all
many
those.
times. Like you can ask my wife. She knew the rules only because I have been watching that video so many times.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just, and I think getting over there into like getting into the Spookinette complex and meeting all those guys I've been riding with, and I've been idolizing guys like John Demmer, like meeting all these huge personalities in this world. That was just overwhelming, and I think all that thing combined with pressure and stuff, that was just a hard cocktail on me on that first day.
Yeah.
I had a hard time just getting it all absorbed, and just I had a hard time just like focusing on the shooting, I
Yeah.
believe.
Well, I mean, it's qualifications. It's not the end all be all. So
No, 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 no.
it for sure you something happened between then your qualifications because that score is a very, very, very respectable score. With 11s or not, it is. So let's talk about what changed from quals on Friday or Thursday, whenever you shot, to Saturday morning.
So the thing is with me and people who knows me, they know this that I'm best when under pressure. Um,
Klaus told me that.
yeah, and in Denmark too. I mean, finals is just my game, and I think that it comes from my years as an officer.
Sure.
I don't get like, I mean, of course I get excited, a little nervous, but I'm just used to like making decisions under pressure, just being confident. I'm used to like having people watching me when I'm working, or that's been a big part of me for so many years. That in Denmark, some of the guys over here call me Iceman, and I think it's because I mean I don't really get.
You're not the Iceman anymore. You're now the Great Dane.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. I heard that. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll take that one.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's just my thing. It's just the finals. I love it. I love the pressure. And I find some calmness in that pressure. It's hard to explain. I
No,
mean,
I get it.
I yeah.
I think I think
So
I think the better shooters all have the consistent high end shooters. Probably a lot of them feel the same way.
yeah, and I mean, I just felt from the morning that I was just gonna kick it. I mean, I had a good feeling coming in there, and I knew that. I mean, I knew that it would be a good day from the beginning. I was really confident, and I had my wife with me and Klaus, and yeah, I was just looking forward to it. I heard so much about those eliminations, and the crazy thing was just like when we were on that line, the top 64, and I was just looking down the line. I was just like, okay, star, 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 star. That was just insane. I was like everyone here can make it to the stage.
Well,
Everyone
all
here.
right.
There's
Listen,
huh?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give John some. I would be. This is what would happen if John was here with us right now. He would say, "Hey, notice Frank wasn't on that line because that's the way his brain works," and he would have it would have been banter back and forth. So, John, I'm giving you your own credit because I know that's well, Frank wasn't there. Ha ha ha. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's not really available during the day to record. So, that's
but
cool,
but
man. Go,
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, but I just mean that like the top 64 and then like 32, and you're just standing down there, and I was like, then 16, I was like, what? Did Eric Johnson just got kicked out? And then I heard this sag out, what the hell? And all these big guys, they just like
Yeah,
fell like flies, and it was just such an insane day. I mean, I think the time that I got most like anxious or nervous or excited, call it whatever, that was on the shoot off arrow
the last
with
arrow.
Dale.
Well,
Yeah, that
let's go
was
through them. Let's go through your journey real quick. So
sure,
I
sure.
have this pulled up here. You went against Logan Bennett from Georgia.
Yeah, great guy.
28-27, you 31-29, you 27-25, you 29-27. So that's solid. 115,
Yeah,
115, 108. 108's a respectable score. And then you get to meet literally one of the nicest guys in Barebow, and legend in Barebow,
goat. Yeah,
Barker. And when you guys tied 30-30, then 29-27 you, 31-27 you, and then tied again 27-27. And you upped the ante and went to a 117-111, won that match, only to face the unknown phenom Dell Hilberry, which again, you ended up going head to head with Dell, and you went 27-26, 30-27, 27-29. Dell turned it on, and then 27-29 with a tie 111 match. So you were
yeah,
111, two X's or two 11s as it's really
yeah,
documented.
exactly.
And then you ended up in a 1 arrow shoot off
Yeah,
and you won with a
yeah.
I think did
I had 10.
you had a 10 liner. You were inside the 10, but it was like
Yeah, yeah,
was it like a 11 o'clock? I think I was watching them with my binos, like 11
yeah. It was
10.
a high 10, high
And
10.
he was a high just out of the 10, 9, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly, like 1 or 2 o'clock.
yeah.
So coming into it, and then you ended up as the coming in and uh I guess really were you number 1 seed or number 2 seed? I guess you
Number one.
were number 1, yeah.
Yeah.
And so to talk about the matches, so we had Renee and Kelly. Renee moved on against Brian Way. Brian won, moved on against
I
um
just wanna. Can I just take a minute?
yeah, go ahead.
Because this Renee guy, Renee
Yeah,
Baker. Yeah,
I want to
he's
have him on the podcast. It's been hard connecting with him, but
like I have known him for a couple of years
oh,
because he's we were shooting this Kings of Archery and Nîmes and all these European tournaments. He's always there, and
okay.
he is just such a nice guy. He's extremely talented. I mean, he is kicking ass over there in Britain right now. And when I met him at Lancaster, we were on the on the practice field. And then I saw the bow and I was like, what the hell is that he's shooting? Because like he's normally shooting this like super custom bow. He makes everything himself, the
Yeah, he's
weights,
an
thunders,
engineer, right?
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything. And then I saw him with that thing, and especially the arrows. They were like these carbon arrows, but like would look Eastern traditional something. And I was like, what the hell is he doing with that thing? And I asked him like, what's up, Renee? What's up with the gear? And he was like, yeah, my bow didn't come with the airplane. And I was like, no, that's just my like biggest nightmare. Like going to Lancaster and then you don't have your bow with you. Like, how bad can it be? And he was shooting that thing, and we were shooting next to each other at the practice field. And I was like, okay, man, I'm rooting for you. And then he came in shooting a 530 score with that thing in the qualification.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, that was insane. I mean, he got that bow like hours before he shot that score, and he just went in that. If that's just pure fucking talent. I mean,
Oh, this is
he is
incredible. Yeah.
that. Yeah, 530 score with that bow. And then on the same evening, I guess he got the message that his bow has arrived, and he picked that up and just came in the day after and had eliminations and went all the way to the stage. I mean, that's just a story. I
Oh, it's
mean,
a great
that's
story. That's why I want to have him on the podcast. It's just I think
yeah,
we did message. I'm sure it'll happen. Just got to pull some opportunity and put him on the episode, and we'll have to juggle schedules and stuff like that. But and not to get too sidetracked off of you, I didn't really get a chance to watch Renee shoot a ton, but I noticed it during the eliminations, and he's got a very unique anchor shot process going on with like the blinking and the head movement and stuff like that. Do you like I can't wait to talk to him about it and just like be like, where did that come from? Or is it just like something that he does when he's a full draw, or what the situation is? But yeah, impressive indeed. He's got that cool weight on the front. I think it's like, is it
yeah.
America weight? I think.
Captain America. Yeah,
So just, I mean, the creative, that's a cool thing about Barebow is there's a creative aspect to it as well.
yeah.
And you get a
There's
guy like him that's super smart. He's an engineer. I think he
yeah.
said,
He is.
it's one of the things that I love about Barebow for sure. But so moving on, just to talk about, Renee lost to Chris Kent Rodman, Brian, or I'm sorry, he lost to Brian. Brian moved on. Then Chris took over, and Chris just went crazy.
Yeah, nuts.
The Canadians showed up.
Yeah, they did.
Chris came in, beat Brian, beat Frederick, beat Raymond or Reggie, as we all know him.
Reggie. Yeah.
Beat Alex, who was number 2 seed, and then you guys put on a show. So,
Yeah.
Chris, I'm planning to have at least Chris and Alex, if not all of the Canadians. I'm gonna try. It's juggling schedules for big podcasts is so hard. That's why I don't watch anymore. So you guys go head to head. 27-30, you.
Yeah.
28-29, you. 28-27, you.
Yeah.
Have a pretty commanding lead going into the last end. Let's talk about the last end. Let's talk about
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Well, I think that what basically happened to me was that as I said before, like I'm a final shooter. I'm a match shooter. Yeah. And what happened was that it I realized that I was winning. Like I started to thinking about what comes next instead of staying in the game.
Yeah.
And I was trailing by 5, and then he shot a 7, and I was like, okay, it's there. I can't lose this one. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the dangerous thing about having the lead, because when you're in the lead like that, I started losing focus, I guess. So that's probably what happened. And then I was at full draw. on that arrow, and I had this like I'm calling it like a double slip,
Yeah.
like when you like give it too much, like
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of just the clean. You know it, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
I mean it's exactly the same. Like going back to compound again, when you're up there and you're
oh,
expecting it to go, yeah,
yeah.
tweak, yeah, and
Yeah.
then it goes. So that was what happened. I've seen that clip many times, and I can see it. It's clear as day. And then um, and then after that one, the six, I was like, okay, I had a six, but I was still pretty much ahead. I mean, he had a seven, so
Yep.
it was just 1 point.
Yep.
And then I guess he shot a 10.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
But
and I
yeah, he
shot
had
an
a 27. Yeah, he shot a 10.
yeah, and then I shot an 8, and then it was just a 2 point lead. Yeah. Um, and I mean that 8 was, I mean that was a good shot. I mean that was fine. That was like half a centimeter from yellow. That was okay. The entire setup, everything taken into consideration.
Yeah.
I wasn't unhappy with that one. That was actually okay. And then he shot an 11 that got downgraded to a 10. But I knew at that point that I needed at least a 9 to win. And that was crazy. that that was yeah, that
That
was
last
something
arrow,
else.
like the anticipation as someone watching from the stands, knowing like it's literally coming down to one arrow. And
Yeah,
Rob says it every year during the shoot ups and Barebow, like we talk about, Barebow happens, like crazy. You're six, Barebow
yeah,
happens. Things happen. It's not compound where it's 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. Olympic recurve, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11,
nah,
occasional 9, but it's getting there. Like it's not close, but it's getting there. And I think that respect has really kind of risen dramatically for Barebow because of it. But you held, man. I was watching and you're at full draw, and I'm like nervous for you, and I'm like, he puts it in the middle. Like he only needs a 9. Just shoot a 9. But we also know that like 2 arrows before that, you flew one out into the blue, and you haven't shot a blue all weekend. And it's just like that anticipation of what's gonna happen. And because it's so common that things do, it's still common enough that crazy things can go. But man, you
yeah,
fast, you nailed it. It's just like the celebration, just the demeanor on the stage, like it was everything that everyone could have hoped for. It's probably that whole shoot up was pretty good. Like it's one of my top, I'm gonna say it's like one of my top three. Like Rich Barker will forever be my favorite. John's last one was my second favorite. And then that, I think that's probably like number three. There's been some really good ones. I don't want to downgrade that. There's been some
nah.
really exciting matches,
I
but
mean, Raymond and Eric last year was pretty
it was
hardcore as
pretty
well.
epic. Yeah, it was. It was.
With the
Yeah, you're
12
not
and all
wrong.
that.
And shooting the 3 spot and all that stuff, because that was like
Uh,
a fresh
but I
uh
mean,
thing.
a fun fact that I've been talking to some of my friends about when I came home was like when before you're going into this on the big stage, you're like in this little back room next to it, and in there there's all these targets that you can shoot on, and they have put some lights up that simulates the spots. That's actually pretty awesome that they do
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
And then they're like, I want to give a shout out. I didn't got his name. There was this guy in here that was like he was responsible for this back room. Didn't got his name. He had
Yeah.
an earring with a cross in it. Yeah,
Oh,
he was like
not
he was awesome. It's
yeah,
like a
he
Lancaster
worked for
guy.
Lancaster.
Yeah, yeah, he was amazing. I mean, if I want to catch up with him on Facebook if I get a chance, he's like he was great. But there was this room and people were shooting, and I mean those arrows don't count, of course, but you're standing in there with the guys. I mean, the 8.
Sure.
So there is some kind of pressure. There must be like, and I was alone in there in the end with Klaus and Kenneth. He was the arrow puller. Everybody had to have an arrow puller as well. And then I walked down the line to pick up my arrows, and all these targets was here from all the guys. And I mean, there was maybe like, with all these targets, I counted maybe 3 reds. Like everybody in there was just hammering yellows. And then they go out there, and then I see the final, and I see how people perform
Yeah.
out there. I don't want to talk down about anybody, but
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
people were struggling. So that's just the difference between 2 rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot explain the pressure on that stage. I mean, that was insane. I have been shooting Kings of Archery finals. I won Nîmes last year. I won the World Championship. Nothing, like nothing, comes close to being in there. That was insane. That was so tense. The lighting, all the people, like, I mean, that was just next level, man. That was
Rob
insane.
Koffel's gonna be happy to hear that. I'm gonna screenshot that and send it to him because
Do that.
it's like this is Rob's brainchild. Like this tournament's been going on 2010 maybe, somewhere early 2000s, somewhere in there. And it started. You got over to the shop, I assume, over to Lancaster.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I did.
And that started in the auxiliary range, the range across the way in
Yeah.
in that area. That's where they shot the original classic, and it was all compound at the time. I believe. I know I didn't shoot in it that early on. But like there's still video of the original classic out there somewhere. I think Real Wild might have been the one that won the first one. I don't know if I remember all in totality. Like I remember watching those because when I got back into competing, like I dipped back into those archives. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. But it's grown. Like, yeah, I don't know if you
Yeah.
said it. It might have been you or somebody else. Like, it's like the Super Bowl of Barebow.
Yeah.
Lancaster has put Barebow, Rob Koffel, Lancaster Archery Supply, with the help of Competition Archery Media and that whole crew has put Barebow on the big map.
Yeah.
No
I
question.
mean, when people back home here are asking me like, what was that you were winning over there? I say like, this was the Tour de France of Barebow. I mean, it's the biggest thing. I mean, I'm defending world champion 3D,
Yeah.
but this, I mean, I would take this any day. It is the most prestigious thing you can win uh, any day, and that was, I mean, yeah, well, that was just a dream coming true right there. That was like what you see on that video is real emotions. I mean, I was just blown away. That was just that was just a dream
Good.
coming
Well,
true.
I hope other people that are aspiring barebow archers get to hear your story, and I hope that they listen to how hard you've worked, and you know, realize like it's a doable thing. You manifested your own destiny. There's no question in this situation that that's what you did, and that's a testimony to you, your hard work, the people around you that have supported you and pushed you, Klaus, for example, the other
Yeah,
you're in that small trad community, or barebow trad community over in Denmark. Um, and your willingness to put yourself out there, like you're not shying away from anything. You're just throwing yourself into the fire so that when you get to the fire, it doesn't burn as bad. And that's really what has happened. So technically you're a fireman. You're no longer a police guy. Just where is it? In America, I don't know if it's like that over there. In America, like me and Joel Turner, I bust on him all the time. It's a police fire thing. We call them second responders because we're the first.
yeah.
Like it's we bust each other all the time. So I don't know if you guys do that over in Denmark, but
Nah,
in
not too much.
America,
It's a little bit, a little
ongoing
bit, yeah.
thing. There's always a joke that policemen really want to be firemen and firemen fake it's a thing. But anyway, man, so anybody you haven't mentioned, you want to give shout outs to, places where people can follow you and enjoy your journey. Now's the time for that. So who you got to give a shout out
Yeah,
to, sponsors, stuff like that.
yeah. Well, of course, I want to thank the Gilo family. They gave me a chance early on. That was like October 23 when I came in second at the Kings of Archery. Victoria and the family, they invited me in, and they have been a big part of my journey. The entire Barebow community in Denmark, we are just growing. Like we are more and more shooters. People are getting better and better. We're really working on something over here.
Oh,
So those guys, of course, Klaus, my one of my closest friends, biggest competitors and the coach, mental everything. And then Jens Fudge, guy is my mental coach, the
I,
author of the book Choose to Be a Winner. Yeah, he has really been a big part of my journey as well. You have the book? Yeah, exactly that one. Yeah, he's really something else. I mean, his the way he's doing things and the way he told me how to meditate, so I started meditating before I go to war, as I call it. And yeah, Arcor. I mean, Aris from Arcor has built me some amazing grips. I use those all the time. By the Archery also. I mean, I get so much support from so many people, and I do my best to give something back to them. We have some small local stores here that also supports me. I mean, in Denmark, Barebow is not so big, but
right.
even with that said, people supports me financially. They don't get much back. I do my best to like wear their logos on my shirt and stuff. I mean, it would not make too much sense to talk too much about them
I
here
get it.
because it's small Danish show stores. But I mean, there's just so many people. Like I made a post the other day on Facebook where I said like people think that archery is a solo sport, and it is. I'm up there on the line by myself, but there are so many people behind me, and they deserve this victory just as much as I do. Yeah. So
Well said.
that's basically it. Yeah.
Well said. And well, and I think one of the probably the ones we don't talk about enough is our significant others and our children because they put
Yeah.
us, whether I'm recording a podcast or you're out shooting for 120 hours
Yeah.
after they go to bed or traveling and spending money and that's one of the even for me in the fire service as a volunteer, like, my wife and my kids, I may get up and leave at any moment. And
Yeah.
there's a support for, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that it's great when they're involved, and you get to do it together, but to be like a truly the best of the best, sacrifices are made across the board. So and shout out, that's cool that you got local support in that way as well. That's awesome. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many people that helps and supports. And it's just, I mean, when you get a big victory, like when I got the world championship, that was for the team, and this one also. I mean, what's next? I don't even know, but for sure,
I know what's
I,
next.
I'm
You're coming back to the 2026 Lancaster Archery Classic to defend the
I am
title.
for sure. I need to get back there. That was, I mean, just the place, the event, everything. That was something to come back to. And then yeah, I'm the first European guy to ever win the Lancaster.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. Some guy just wrote that to me. You know that, right? You're the first European to ever win the Lancaster. I was like, is that, am I? but but
Mind
I, yeah, but I am, and I intend to do it again.
I'm looking forward to seeing you come back next year. We'll definitely try to if connect if you guys come in early. Let's try to connect when you get to the stateside. So when
Sure.
is hunting season over there? When does that start for you guys? Is that all year?
No, it just ended now, basically, and then at May we start with the buck hunt. Buck season starts in May,
Oh,
16th of May.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So then we hunt the May, June, and until the 15th of July, and then it stops again, and then starts up at 1st October.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we have like summer season and autumn, winter season.
Are you going to another topic? Are you going to shoot 50 meter? Try to pursue some world records with that stuff,
Mm.
or is it really not is the 50 meter game not really popular over there?
It is, but the thing is just that I have always been focusing mostly on 3D, and I mean, with family and work and all these things, like focusing on two things at one time does not really work for me. So, like this year, I knew that I was going to the World Championships, so I basically, I think I shot one tournament, 50 meters, and then that was it. Maybe this year I'll try it out a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I mean, 3D is I just love 3D. I just love going into the woods, shooting those foam animals. I don't know what it is. I
Art.
just,
So that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah. So that's kind of my thing during the summer. That's 3D.
Good deal, man. Good deal. Well,
Yeah.
thanks so much. Oh, and where can people follow you? Do you have like a public Instagram?
Yeah, like I have had since I won Lancaster, I think I have like 400 friend requests on Facebook, and I, I don't want to be arrogant, but I mean my Facebook page is mainly for like people that I know and I have talked to at least. But my Instagram is open, and Ochkenholt, like my name,
Yeah.
underscore archery, and go in there, follow. I mean, most of my archery stuff is in there anyway, so that's where I post everything and do live scorings and all these things. Yeah,
All right. Beautiful. I guess that's it, man. It was a great
that's
podcast,
it.
man. Yeah, you were flawless, just like your shoot ups up until
Thank you. I
that
did my
during the
best with
last
my
hour.
English.
It was
With
good
my
stuff. Real good stuff. I'm gonna pause
perfect man.
recording here real quick. All right, and then but just hang out, okay?